Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of this Q&A. I got lots more questions from you guys than I thought I was going to, and some of them are really good. So I just broke this Q&A up into 2 halves. I'm so sorry if you can hear loud construction noise. My neighbor's working on stuff, which he has every right to do, but still, it's loud. So yeah, if you want to check out part 1, I'll go ahead and link that for you here. But I'm going to carry on where I left off. So if you're interested, keep watching. All right, so I'm finishing off. I got a bunch of questions from this one person. The first one was, do you have any advice for fostering sibling bonds? And I tried to answer that as best as I could in the last video. Her next question was, how do you keep your spouse involved in your homeschool program? Do you like to give an interview at the end of the week or bring him in on lessons from time to time? Do you guys usually have the same preference for curriculum? So my husband has very little input into what I teach and when I teach and any of that. We don't even do weekly reviews, quite frankly. It's very casual. I pretty much do 99% of everything with homeschool. My kids definitely we'll show him stuff that they've done, but that's just sort of organic and natural. We don't have a presentation or anything. Every now and again, when the kids have achieved something great, obviously I'll show that to him. He has zero input into the curriculum. He wouldn't even know where to start. I would say the most he has at the moment is that he's taking my son mountain biking, and that's his extracurricular. So there's that, but really he doesn't have much input at all. And that's how my dad was, quite frankly, and it was totally fine. So I don't know, it worked well for us when we were kids, and it seems fine for my husband. If he wanted to add stuff in, I'd be totally open to that. Sometimes especially if I'm really tired, I'll ask the kids to read to him, but that's again very rare. For the most part, our school takes place in the morning when he's at work, and sometimes the kids will tell him about stuff that they've learned. My son is a walking fact box, and so he will tell everyone all the things he knows all of the time, which is wonderful, and we love that about him. So my husband definitely gets a rundown from the kids, but again, it's not forced or scheduled. It's very organic in nature. Okay, next one is, would love to hear some budgeting tips. So I don't know if this is specific to homeschooling or if it's just life in general. Life in general, there's I try and live very frugally. It's how I was raised. It comes very naturally to me. We budget a month at a time. We use YNAB, which is You Need a Budget. It is budgeting software. We've always used that since we got married. I use that for our personal, and I also use it for my business. We started our marriage, thankfully, knowing who Dave Ramsey was and the principles of Dave Ramsey, so we've adopted a lot of that, but we certainly don't live strictly by his principles. But I think my husband and I are both very grateful to have been raised by parents who were wise with their money. My parents had no money for a long time because they were immigrants, and it just took time to build that up. So really, it wasn't until I basically was leaving home that they started to be more comfortable. Up until that point, it was very much paycheck to paycheck. Very hardworking parents. That's just how we were raised. But I remember my mom teaching me how to do a budget and everything when I was probably in my early teen years, maybe even younger. And so that comes very naturally to me. I'm always shopping around for power and internet and stuff. I'm always checking to make sure that we're paying the lowest possible on that. And switching companies, insurance policies, that kind of thing. Groceries, I've always kept a very low budget on groceries. We get home kill meat through my parents' farm, so that saves us a ton of money. I meal plan. That keeps the budget very low. As far as homeschool goes, shopping secondhand, especially for non-consumables, cuts way down. Using your local library can make things cheaper. Having a printer so you can print PDF documents at home saves so much money, especially if you live internationally and have to pay shipping. That saves a lot of money. So all of those things add up. I feel naturally I try and stick to a budget and be disciplined. I'm not perfect at it, but those are the kinds of things that I do. So I don't know if that answers your question, because I don't know if you wanted it to be specific to homeschooling or just in general. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I do. So many of the amazing award-winning books don't seem to be available in New Zealand, and getting them here costs a small fortune. Do you just bite the bullet and buy them anyways? Any tips for getting great books? So for those of you in New Zealand, a way that I've gotten a lot of books is through op shops, going and looking at op shops. I've gotten tons and tons and tons of books that way. Otherwise, our libraries are terrible here in New Zealand, quite frankly. They really don't stock a lot of good books. But libraries sometimes, but otherwise thrift books I use sometimes, especially if I can do a bulk order. I've gotten a lot of books through thrift books. The shipping is expensive, but I found it to be less expensive than other places, and obviously the books are cheaper. They used to have, what was it called? Oh my goodness, it's like on the tip of my tongue, Book Depository. And then unfortunately they shut down. But I've heard good things about another one over in the UK, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head. So Blackwell's, I think it's called Blackwell's. Apparently they're really good, and I have ordered some books off of Amazon because I found that their shipping has gotten a lot cheaper over the years, especially if you look at the Australian version of the site. So that's how I tend to do things, and then I just am very picky about which books I want, and also I recommend them to grandparents if, you know, there's birthdays and stuff coming up. So that's how I tend to do book shopping. And then, you know, some things you can sell on. I hate selling books though. I don't think I've sold any books really. I just keep them forever. So the answer is more bookshelves, not fewer books. All right, which history curriculum, grade 1, do you recommend? Absolutely love your channel. You are magic. Thank you. That's very sweet. History curriculum, it depends. If you have a really, like, a generous budget, I love Sunlight. But otherwise, I would recommend something like Story of the World or Mystery of History. And they have audio versions, which is really fantastic too. So I like those history curriculums. Before we carry on with this video, I just wanted to bring your attention to a really great reading program, which you guys, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that we really, really appreciated using this, and that is All About Reading. Now, All About Reading is one of several products that All About Learning Press puts out. They also have a spelling curriculum, which is really fantastic. I have used both level 1 of All About Reading and level 1 of All About Spelling with my eldest child. It was exactly what I needed as a new homeschool mom who was struggling a little bit with teaching my son how to read. It is just so straightforward and helpful. It holds your hands through everything. It is particularly fantastic for learners who might have something like dyslexia. It uses the Orton-Gillingham method to teach, which is very effective for dyslexia and other learning challenges. So if it is something that you're on the lookout for, that you are wanting to get for your homeschool, a really solid reading or spelling program, I highly, highly recommend them. I'll have them linked down in the description for you below. Go and check them out. Does your family support your decision to homeschool, and how do you deal with any negative comments about your decision? Thankfully, my family is very supportive. My parents homeschooled me and my siblings, and then actually my husband's parents have been homeschooling his younger sister. She's like 18 years younger than him, so there's a big age gap, and they've been homeschooling her, and they've never been anti-homeschooling, but they're definitely pro it as well. And so I just don't have negative comments made, honestly. Very, very, very rarely. I can count on like one hand how many people might say something negative. In fact, I would say that I get more positive comments from the general public now than I used to. Like if I'm out with my kids, I've been surprised at how open people have been to it. And I honestly just don't really get offended by people's negative comments because I was homeschooled. I've proved the system, it works. So like when people come with their negative comments, I'm just like, I'm sorry, but like you just have no founding for your comments, and it just doesn't bother me. So unless someone's like really aggressive and stuff, I just ignore it. But I don't really find that happens in real life. I did have one doctor who was super condescending, and that really rubbed me up the wrong way. And I do find that the most like condescending and rude comments come from educated people, in the sense that they've gone on to do like higher tertiary education, because they tend to think they know it all, which is so out of touch. But anyway, that has been my experience. And in those cases, I usually just either ignore them or just will say something very short to kind of end the conversation because they're not open to it. So I just don't care to debate about it. If someone is genuinely interested, I'm more than happy to have a conversation or to correct people if they just have like unfounded claims about things. That's fine. But for the most part, I don't get negative comments. I am very aware of the privilege that I have of having been homeschooled and having that confidence in homeschooling my children. I don't question whether I'm doing the right thing. I know I am, without a doubt. And that is purely because my parents did it and they put in that hard work for me. And I wish I could pass that confidence on to those of you who are struggling with it. I really, really wish I could just say, it's gonna be okay. You're doing the right thing. This works. So yeah, I wish I could just like give that to you through the screen and that you could really feel it and claim it, because I am so grateful that I have that. It just like, I just don't question it. I don't think there has ever been a time when I've been like, am I doing the right thing? Because I just know, I know that it's right. All right, next one is, what is your best advice to transitioning from homeschooling one child to two children? I would just say be intentional about your day and how it's going to look. Be realistic about your expectations, especially if both your kids are still young. They're both going to need you. Don't underestimate how much mental energy it's going to take, because it does. It will make you tired. It's a job. People pay teachers to do the job you're doing, okay? So I'm saying that to myself because I certainly was like, oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. So I would say that, and just, I know that there's like this stigma in the homeschool world about having busy work for kids, but quite frankly, sometimes you need it, because if you don't have something to occupy a child, they're gone. And then you spend time looking for them, trying to get them back while you've been busy with the other kid. So I would just say it doesn't have to be busy work, but have like something that they can do that keeps them there and engaged if you have to go and work with another child. And do be clear with your kids that when you're working with one child, they need to respect that. And if they have questions that are non-urgent, they need to put them aside and wait until you're ready to come and work with them, because kids can tend to like monopolize you and not see that the other child is very much entitled to your undivided attention just as much as they are when it's their turn. So I would say have clear boundaries with your kids and talk through that kind of thing, and just do it gradually. Add subjects in one by one instead of going gung-ho on everything all at once. All right, what is your favorite thing about homeschooling, and do you have any tips on consistently doing school? I find this question kind of, and I'm not meaning this to be like rude to anyone, I find the question of like being consistent with school kind of weird. I think like you just do it because your kids deserve a good education. And so if you're finding it difficult to be consistent, I would just say you really need to think about how important this is. It's very serious. Like, it's your kids' education. And I'm really truly not trying to be unkind in the way that I say this, but it's just that you have to be disciplined. It's got nothing to do with motivation. You just do it because that is what is required each day. And so when you are disciplined about it and your kids know that, then they will be easier. It'll be easier because they just know that that is an expectation. So have a routine and a rhythm. It doesn't have to be strict and set in stone, but have a rhythm to your day and stick to it, because this is your kids. It's their education. It's not something you could just be like, oh, I don't really feel like doing it today. And I'm not saying that you specifically are saying this, but it's just, you have to do it. And it's just like one of those things that you don't get to skip out on. So yeah, there's a solid need. There's a seriousness to it. I think that has always made me be consistent. So yeah, I would say that routine, having something you will enjoy when you first start your day can be really helpful, because you're looking forward to it, but just don't see it as something that's optional. It is something that has to be done. And my favorite thing about homeschooling, I love seeing the delight in my kids' eyes when they're learning about something that they really enjoy. And I love seeing them accomplish things and know that I was the one who got to walk beside them while they did that. Like, that is just the most rewarding thing ever. I love it. Okay, love your content. Thank you. Wondered what the homeschool community is like where you are in New Zealand. Are there lots of homeschoolers? Are they friendly? We struggle with homeschool friends and cliquey homeschool groups where we are. Homeschooling has like just grown exponentially since the lockdowns. It just grew like crazy. And there are loads of homeschoolers in the area that I'm in now, and we live in a small area. And we have not had any trouble really with finding homeschool friends. That said, we don't spend all our week spending time in each other's pockets. It's like a once a week kind of thing. I don't think there's any clickiness. I do find that the homeschool groups that we associate with are from all walks of life. Gone are the days where everyone's like fundamentalist Christians. It's very much everybody from all sorts. And I really actually appreciate that, because I feel like I don't have to do so much work to make sure that my kids aren't so sheltered from the world. Like, they're certainly getting exposed to different ways that people think and that kind of thing. So yeah, I haven't had any trouble with that. And I'm very thankful for the community that we have where we are. I love your channel and find it very helpful and inspiring. Thank you. Do you have a list of chapter books you read to your children? I'm always on the hunt for great literature that I can read to my children, such as chapter books, but doesn't have to be chapter books. I'm just looking for some new ideas. Thank you. 2 lists that I have used and find very helpful and would recommend are on the Simply Charlotte Mason website. They've got a great chapter book list and for like different grade levels. And then the other one is Sunlight. Look at what books they have in their units and see if you can find those, because they're really, really great. So yeah, I recommend those. Hi, love your content. Thanks. The girls I teach are in 1st and 2nd grade respectively. Any recommendations for funny fantasy literature? They actually like being read to from longer books like Narnia and The Secret Garden. Also, any free preschool curriculum recommendations. Free preschool, there is Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool. They do a free preschool curriculum, which is good. I think there's another one. I can't remember what it's called now. I think, oh goodness, what channel did I see it on? If I remember, I will put it up here. I can't guarantee I'll remember. But there was another one as well that was like phonics curriculum, but I don't know if it was preschool. It might have been a learning to read curriculum, so never mind, scratch that. But definitely Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool is free. I'm sure there are others, so if you know of free preschool curriculums, go ahead and chuck them in the comments so that people can see them. That would be fantastic. As for fantasy literature, anything from Enid Blyton, I love. The Magic Faraway Tree, The Wishing Chair, fantastic series. My kids love those. But basically anything from Enid Blyton, I'm like a huge fan of. So that is what I would recommend. Okay, now I think I had a couple more questions. All right, a couple more questions, and then I think I can wrap this up. How many social out-of-home things do you do in the week? Started homeschool on Monday. So we have church on Sunday. We have homeschool meetup on Tuesday. My girls have art class on Wednesday. And that is it, unless we have like a play date with friends or something like that. So we often will see like family on the weekend on a Saturday or something, or during the week. But I don't have any like set in stone times when we meet up with anyone else. And that's totally fine. I'm all good with that. Are you going to decorate any more rooms? Yes, I'm currently in the process of decorating our TV lounge. And if you want to see more of that, go ahead and check out my Instagram, because that's where I share more. Have you ever traveled outside New Zealand? Where? Love your content. So if you don't know, I wasn't born in New Zealand. I was born in South Africa, and my family immigrated here when I was 5 years old. And then I've been back to South Africa 3 times. And I've also been to Vanuatu, and I have been to Australia. I would love to travel more in the future. We want to do a trip around the South Island, which obviously is still in New Zealand, but it's basically like another country, because honestly, the difference, I've been to the South Island before a couple of times, but it's just so different to the North Island. And I want to do a road trip around there with my kids when they're a little bit older. That's like the plan. And then we will probably go overseas at some point. I really, really want to do a tour of Europe for the history's sake. I'd like to do the States at some point, but Europe comes first because I want like ancient history. I'm so excited about that. So yeah, we'll see in the future. But yeah, I've done a little bit of traveling, but mostly it was back to South Africa to visit family. That wraps up all of the questions that you guys sent in. Thank you so much. It was lots of fun. I hope you found it fun and enjoyable and insightful and helpful and all the things. If you have any more for me, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I can save them for the next Q&A. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no war.